Hey guys, today in this video, I'll guide you through how you can build Botpress Chatbot. Watch till the end to grab everything properly. Alright, so let's begin with the video. Botpress is a tool that helps people create chatbots, which are computer programs that can talk to humans. It has easy-to-use features like a drag-and-drop builder to design conversations. Botpress also has smart language understanding so the chatbots can communicate naturally. You can publish your chatbot on websites, social media, messaging apps, and more. It works well for customer service, education, and other uses. In order to start using it, follow along. First, open any type of preferred browser on your PC and search for botpress.com. After that, open the official website and sign into your account. Now, you will be redirected to your account's homepage where all of your recently created bots will be present. Now, the first thing I'll do from my Botpress dashboard is click on the New Bot button. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to start from a blank canvas. But if you're new to Botpress, I recommend following along with a guided tutorial that is provided directly in the studio. So, when you first open the studio like this, the first thing you'll see are two nodes, your start and your end node. Everything that happens during your user's conversation happens between these two nodes. The bot we're going to build today is super simple. It's going to ask our user how many people are going on a trip, and it'll recommend different activities based on what they respond. The first thing we'll have our bot do is greet our user. So, we'll right-click anywhere in the studio and select a standard node. Then, in this standard node, we'll drag and drop a text card from the card tray directly into it. And we'll type out the message we want our user to see the first time they interact with our bot. So in this case, I'll write, "Hello, welcome to your personalized recommendation service." Also make sure to rename our node so that our workflow stays organized. Now, the next thing you'll want to do is transition over to another node. Transitions in Botpress are handled using our flow logic card. You can find them right over here in the card tray. Most of the time, you'll want to transition to the next node in most circumstances. So in this case, we'll use an expression card, drag it over to the card tray, and label it as always. Now, the Botpress's AI will take care of the rest, so you don't have to write the logic yourself. Next, we'll add a node that asks our user a question. So like before, we'll create a standard node and we'll rename it to keep our workflow organized. Let's call it Capture Information. Since what we want from our user is the number of people going on this trip, we'll use the Capture Information card. In this case, that'll be the number, since the answer we're looking for is a number. Drag it over into the node and set up our capture card in the inspector on the right-hand side. So, what we'll first want to set up is our question to ask the user. In this case, let's ask how many people will be going on this trip. Now, the next thing we have to set up is how we're going to save this result. So now, we'll store the result in a variable. All this means is that when your bot wants to reference this information again in the later part of the conversation, you won't have to ask your user for it a second time. So let's create a variable called numPeople, which means number of people. Whenever your user answers this question, their answer will be saved in the variable called numPeople. Let's connect these two nodes by dragging and dropping a path between them. The next thing we need to do is diverge our user's path based on what they've answered to this previous question. To do this, we'll use the flow logic cards located in the card tray. Because we want to provide 3 different recommendations, we'll need 3 different expression cards. So just drag and drop all of the cards in the editing canvas. In the label section for each card, we'll use natural language to segment our user's flow. So for the first option, let's type in user input is a number between 1 and 6. When we hit enter, Botpress's AI will write the conditional logic for us, so you don't need to do that on your own. Now, let's do that again. For user input, which is a number between 7 and 30. And finally, for the last one, let's use user input is a number higher than 31. Now, we have 3 separate flow cards that will each lead our user to a different activity recommendation. Next, let's create individual nodes for each of our separate recommendations. So, for groups between 1 and 6, let's recommend dinner at a restaurant. For groups between 7 to 30, let's recommend going on a hike. And for anything higher than 30, let's recommend a simple picnic. Next, we'll send a message in each node telling the user how many people they're going to be and what a recommendation is for that number of people. I will type in, "So you'll be this many people," as a response. Note that addNumPeople variable will reference the variable that we used to store our user's response earlier. In the chat, the user won't see addNumPeople. Instead, they'll see the number that they selected earlier. Now, let's copy and paste this card into each of our separate nodes below using copy and paste. Finally, let's send a separate message in each of these nodes with our individual recommendation. Now, let's wrap up our bot by using transition or flow logic cards to move our user to the end of the conversation represented by this end node. So, for each of our individual recommendations, we're going to add an always transition to make sure that the user always reaches the end of the conversation. After that, let's connect everything together by drawing paths. Now that our nodes are all set up and our paths are all drawn, the very last thing we have to do is manage our conversation and workflow. So over here on the left-hand menu, you'll see conversation and workflow. What this is the very last message your user will see, regardless of what they were recommended or which conversation path they took. So we'll write a simple message here using a send message card and say, "Thank you for using your personalized recommendation service." Finally, we'll wrap it up by using an always transition to make sure that this conversation ends properly. The very last thing we'll do before going live with our bot is test it to make sure it works. So, on the right-hand side of the editor, you'll see the emulator that you can use to test out your bot. If we say hi, and we say 14 people will be going on this trip, we are correctly recommended a Grand Canyon scenic hike. A quick overview: in this video, we gained a comprehensive understanding of how Botpress empowers users to create intelligent chatbots that can seamlessly integrate into our daily lives. We explored the platform's intuitive interface, which allows both developers and non-technical users to design engaging conversation flows. We also delved into the advanced AI capabilities of Botpress. So that's basically how you can build Botpress Chatbot. So that's all for this video. Consider subscribing if you find it helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.